Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. She's out and about today, but she will be back. In fact, you'll probably be with her most of the weekend because I got stuff to do this weekend. But we're going to talk about Warner Brothers splitting in half again. Is this again? So yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery is talking about splitting in half. Now, this is like a freaking amoeba to follow Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers was Time Warner, if I remember correctly, and then that got bought by AT&T, and then they spun off the Warner Brothers part, and then it merged with Discovery, which is where they picked up David Zaslav. And now they're talking about splitting it again to boost their stock price because their stock price is not good. I mean, this is just like, again, another indicator of end stage Hollywood, end stage studio system that Warner Brothers is now looking to having to save its stock price by splitting. And we've got Paramount getting gobbled up by Skydance, and let's see, MGM got gobbled up by Amazon. And yeah, all these legacy studios are dying. They're all dying. I love this. This is Warner Brothers Discovery. Did they just like paint over the Warner Media sign? Is that what they did? And they just like slapped a new coat of paint on it. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about Netflix exploding right now. That Netflix is still doing very, very well. And I have to wonder if like a Netflix or another tech company isn't going to come along and just buy Warner Brothers. I mean, all these companies probably would have been fine had they just stayed in their lane and made good content and then just put it on Netflix and not tried to enter the streaming race. But they all decided to get into the streaming war, and they all it was a race to the bottom of the barrel. And Warner Brothers has been hit really hard. They've been selling everything that's not of value to them. They shut down Rooster Teeth, Cartoon Network. We have a whole nother podcast. I have Fresher Luke back on again. It's going to be on Derezzed next day or two. I think we're going to get that up. Or you can watch it. You can watch it early on Patreon. It's going to be on Patreon early at patreon.com/clownfishtv. But we have a whole discussion about how Cartoon Network as a brand is not really even important to them anymore. They're announcing a bunch of stuff that's probably going to be for streaming. And I have to wonder how much of the stuff that's been announced is going to get canceled because of this. Apparently, they're not doing very good. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Thank you so much. No woohoos. She'll be back. She'll be back. Don't worry. This is coming from Deadline. Warner Brothers Discovery mulling split to boost stock price. This is going to be like Superman Red and Blue. Remember that from the 90s? That was very ill-conceived. Superman Red and Blue, he split, and they had like a blue lightning version of Superman and a red lightning version of Superman, and they just wanted an excuse to sell new number ones, I guess. But Warner Brothers is reportedly looking to break off its streaming and studio businesses from their linear networks to energize its failing stock price. This comes from Deadline. WBD stock closed Wednesday at $8.34. The media company is down from its 52-week high of $14.76 and currently has a $20.3 billion market cap. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav is apparently weighing a myriad of options, from selling assets to separating the movie studio Max streaming service into a new company free from the group's current near $40 billion debt. This is all per the Financial Times. Deadline has reached out to Warner Brothers for comment. We'll update when they weigh in. So this is what companies do sometimes. And I think they did this before. I want to say they did this before. This is what AT&T did. They basically take the debt that's attached or tied to a company, and they'll spin it off into another company and say, oh, that's that company's problem. Now we have a brand new company now. We don't have debt. We took all the debt and we spun it off into this other division. And that's how companies get out paying taxes. That's how companies get out of debt. You know, they make the money disappear. Oh, we're going to spin it off into this new company, and then we're just going to take the write down on that. And you can do it. I mean, apparently it's legal. It's a loophole, and you've got to have some damn good accountants, but you can figure out ways to take debt and punt it to another division, punt it to another company. Just say, yeah, we're going to take this company and we're going to make a new company, and that company's got all the credit card bills. And this company is debt free, right? And it's skeezy. It really is. But apparently it's legal. So the news hit as Warner Brothers Discovery is making another round of layoffs. As Deadline reported, in addition, longtime media analyst Jessica Reif-Ehrlich 2 days ago begged Warner Brothers to do something, anything from selling the company to selling assets to finding a streaming joint venture or merger. And we're going to talk about Netflix. Like, if I were Netflix, I'd be like, yeah, let's just buy Warner Brothers. I mean, Amazon bought MGM. Why can't they buy Warner Brothers? Netflix is one of the only companies out there in the entertainment space that is flush with cash. They could do it. In our view, the current composition as a consolidated public company is not working. This is the Bank of America global research analyst. Warner Brothers Discovery situation is not the same as Paramount, whereby a suitor such as Sony or Skydance could swoop in and absorb it in its entirety. Paramount Global has $14 billion in long-term debt. So all these companies, everybody's like, oh, they're making millions and millions of dollars. I'm like, yeah, they're making millions and millions of dollars, but they're billions and billions of dollars in debt. Most of these companies are operating with massive debt, including Disney. I mean, it's just, they just keep piling the debt up. And then they're like, oh yeah, we made $100 million at the box office this weekend. Just don't pay attention to the fact that we're like $50 billion in debt, right? This is not sustainable. Warner Brothers Discovery's $39 billion debt load is a whole different ball of wax. $40 billion. Warner Brothers Discovery happened, if I remember correctly, and I could be getting this wrong, but if I remember this correctly, this was AT&T's way of getting out of debt. They basically scraped all the Warner Brothers debt off the bottom of their shoe and gave it to David Zaslav, and they merged it with Discovery. And then they're like, oh yeah, we don't have that debt anymore, guys, because it was dead weight. Warner Brothers was dead weight. No Sound Corporation wants to get in the business with that. However, bits and pieces picked up by the right media company could work. So could they sell off DC Comics? You know, we know that they sold parts of Rooster Teeth to Viz. Viz bought Ruby. I think it's a fire sale. I think they'll sell anything that's not nailed down at this point. Per reports, Warner Brothers hasn't hired an investment bank to explore such a transaction, but has been speaking with consultants to figure out what's best for shareholders. John Malone and the Newhouse family are Warner Brothers' biggest investors. There's also a path where Warner Brothers Discovery could opt to just stay the course. I don't think that's sustainable. They do have some hits, like HBO is money in the bank. House of the Dragon's doing really well, and it seems like they keep... I saw an article the other day that anything HBO branded seems to do better, so I could see them just like branding everything as HBO and then like selling HBO to somebody else. Warner Brothers has at one point sat down with Paramount Global CEO Bob Bakish last December as headlines hit about merger talks. That marriage was never going to happen. Yeah, Paramount and Warner, that's like Sears and Kmart going into business together. It's not going to work. You need a company bigger than that, which is why I'm going to bring up Netflix, because I could see Netflix just swooping in and saying, yeah, we own Warner Brothers now. The notion of a Warner Brothers split could see debt stay with linear networks, while the growing OTT service, streaming service, could hit a higher valuation multiple and be given the potential to invest in its growth. Warner Brothers is among the major motion picture studios who have committed to launching expensive streaming services. There it is. With all the attendant technology headaches, content costs, talent issues, and brand repositioning. It was stupid for all these studios to think they could compete head on with Netflix. And at the end of the day, Netflix is still number one. Disney is a distant second. Like they've just, and now we've got, Tubi and all these other free services that are eating into that. YouTube is still bigger than all of it. Compounding problems are a declining ad market, as well as the aftermath of COVID and last year's double Hollywood strikes. Yeah. Warner's has had a sour summer at the box office with a string of flops, including Furiosa, The Watchers, American Saga. They said they had a rich spring with Dune Part 2 and Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. I started watching that. I'm going to be honest, guys. I started watching the Godzilla Kong movie and I checked out about halfway through it. I thought it was like a video game. I mean, after watching Godzilla -1, I'm like, it's all right, I guess. The Zaslav era of Warner Brothers has seen a tremendous amount of cuts and layoffs in an effort to pay down debt. In February, shares declined 10% after company CFO Gunnar Wiedenfeld said he wasn't giving a free cash flow outlook for the year. Wow. AW Bros, it's over. Who else misses the Warner Brothers television network? Yeah, so we'll talk about it. It's not looking good, but meanwhile, Netflix is fine. They all blew themselves up to chase Netflix. That's what's so damn weird about this. Like all these studios, these Hollywood studios, they got greedy. They weren't content to just put their content on Netflix. No. We couldn't have that. We all have to start our own streaming services because Netflix, we have to take down Netflix, because how dare they work outside the studio system and make all this money off of our content? Who do they think they are? Well, they're flush with cash. And Warner Brothers and Paramount are screwed. And Universal, they're doing fine because they have, they're owned by Comcast. But yeah, I think a tech company is going to have to buy Warner Brothers. They had AT&T, and AT&T didn't want them. They didn't make any money. How long can Netflix keep beating earnings and subscriber expectations, according to the Hollywood Reporter? It said after another big quarter. Now, this is after they announced that they're going to be axing the cheapest ad-free plan. So they have an $11.99 ad-free plan. They're getting rid of it. So basic user, I don't know if this is going to work for them or not, but who knows? Basic users in the U.S. who want an ad-free viewing experience on Netflix will now have two choices: the standard plan, which is $15.49 a month, and the premium plan, which is $22.99 a month. Again, we're creeping up on cable prices. I remember when Netflix used to do the streaming as like a bonus. Like if you were a Netflix subscriber and you had, I'm trying to remember what it was, but I think if you had like the 2-disc plan, you could have two or three discs out at once. Back when you used to mail the stuff back to them, that you got the streaming as like a bonus. It was like, oh yeah, plus we have a bunch of old shit that nobody else wants, which now most of that stuff's on Tubi. It's kind of weird, but like, yeah, they're getting rid of it. They're trying to push their customers to the ad-supported plan at $6.99 a month. Well, the reason they're doing that is they're going to make more money per user because they're going to push ads to those users. So yeah, this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. How long can Netflix keep beating earnings and subscriber expectations? They had another huge quarter. They said Netflix beat Wall Street expectations with strong second quarter financial and subscriber growth. Reported on July 18th, but management forecasts slower growth ahead, saying expectations for lower paid net additions next quarter compared to the year prior. This is why they're basically forcing you to pay more, right? Partly because it has already reaped gains from its successful password sharing crackdown launched about a year ago. CEOs Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters discussed the potential. Oh, this is going to piss people off. Co-CEOs Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters discussed the potential benefits of generative artificial intelligence during their earnings chat, and also gave updates on Netflix's advertising tier, which has been in place for 18 months, now accounts for 45% of all signups in markets with that tier. So half of Netflix's signups are the ad-supported. So Wall Street analysts have much to ponder after the earnings update, especially following stock price target hikes from several heading into the report. Many analysts came away feeling the results didn't move the needle too much. So they're saying that like they're going to hit a cap, right? Netflix is eventually going to hit the ceiling on the number of people that are willing to pay for Netflix. So what you need to do at that point is, well, one, they're going to keep charging people more money. They're going to get as much blood out of the stones as they can. And two, they need to keep the content fresh to make sure people stay subscribed and they don't just like subscribe for Bridgerton and then cancel. How do you do that? You buy Warner Brothers. You buy Warner Brothers, and then you get all the DC characters, and you make a bunch of DC shows and movies that hopefully don't suck. And that's how you keep people's attention, and along with all the cartoon content. And Warner Brothers said before that they're gonna outsource cartoons and shows to whoever will have them, and Netflix has the money to do it, right? So I'll kind of bring it around to that because we do talk a lot about animation on this channel. And again, we have another podcast with Fresher Luke coming up. Check it out on Patreon early, but probably, I don't know, tomorrow, we're going to post on Patreon, then it'll be out. The audio and video versions will be available on other platforms. But yeah, I could totally see Warner Brothers getting gobbled up by Netflix or a company like Netflix. I mean, Netflix has the money to buy them. And then just being like, yeah, now we got all the Warner Brothers library. We got all the Cartoon Network stuff. We got all the Adult Swim stuff. I mean, it'd be a huge boon for them, but they've got a lot of debt. So I don't know how it's going to work, but it sounds like they're clearly struggling, and I can't think of too many other companies that could buy them realistically. And it wouldn't be the first time they were owned by a bigger media company. Again, you had Time Warner, AOL bought them. And it feels like these studios in the current climate can only survive if they're owned by a bigger entity. And this is the same with comics and the same with animation. It's like a luxury item, right? It's like, Universal is doing okay. DreamWorks is doing okay. Illumination. But if DreamWorks were not owned by Universal, I don't think they'd be doing so hot. Disney is kind of an entity unto itself. So they kind of don't count. But all these other studios, they have to be propped up by companies that have a market or have a customer base that buy day-to-day goods. It's more sustainable. Telecom company, was it Gulf Western? Didn't they own Paramount for a while? You know what I'm saying? It's like Hollywood's a luxury item. So I think that for Warner Brothers to survive, Netflix is probably the best bet at this point for them. I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I can't think of anybody else that has enough money to buy them. I really can't. It's crazy, but yeah, there we go, guys. They're going to split Warner Brothers in two to try to save their ass. I don't know what else is going to happen. I think they're already doing a bundle anyway, so we'll see. Or Apple could buy them. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.